Welcome to the Sea Files. Thanks for joining me again. Appreciate everyone. Give a thumbs up. Let's get the 2024 started right. And I'm going to start by correcting a mistake that I made on my video, the last video I did. I was talking about Ben Carson, and a friend of mine pointed this out to me. And I knew better. Folks, I have been operating on inadequate rest and sleep, and sometimes my mind doesn't remember details the way it should when it comes to things like that. But Ben Carson is not a cardiologist. He's a neuroscientist or neurology. He did brain surgery, and he did I think he did the first successful brain surgery. So I can't. Anyway, he was a world famous brain surgeon, and had pioneered some things in brain surgery, which was incredible. That's why they say he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to correct that when it came to Ben Carson. I had misidentified him as a cardiologist, and that's not correct. He was in neurology. So, all right. So, there's a lot going on already. I mean, we're not even past January, and things are going wacky already. I tell you, not too long ago, I mean, during the holidays, I looked up in the sky over North Carolina, and the number of chemtrails crisscrossing each other in the sky was utterly shocking. I even pointed it out to my wife. Look at those chemtrails up there. And so how do you know the difference between a chemtrail and a contrail? So a contrail is what normally comes out of a jet engine, okay? If you've ever been to an air show where military-style jets are flying around, you'll notice that exhaust doesn't continue, there's not smoke, doesn't continually come out of that jet engine. It'll fly by close to the ground to thrill the crowd, and nothing, no smoke, just the jet screaming by, right? Sometimes when it'll hit the afterburners and take off, you'll get a little bit of a contrail where a little bit comes out, but it doesn't last more than 30 seconds. And then it dissipates. So that's a contrail. I'm letting somebody in a long line. There we go. And so if you look up and the plane's gone across the sky, and it's been a couple minutes, and that trail of smoke is still there, and it's spreading out like a cloud, that's a chemtrail. And so a chemtrail is where chemicals are sprayed into the sky. And yes, chemicals have been sprayed into the skies for a number of years now. And according to a few of the scientists who have been whistleblowers that have come out, who deal with atmospheric chemical testing and so forth, they're saying that there's a number of different metals in these clouds that are being sprayed. The one that stands out the most is aluminum, but there's borium and there's others, I think lithium, and some other chemicals. The bottom line is, it's not healthy for us. It's not good for us. So there's a test. We have snow that's been coming down across a significant portion of the nation now. Tennessee's getting hit heavy with snow right now, some parts of the South, and then of course the Northeast and the Midwest, all the way down to the Texas Panhandle, have been getting snow. So here's a test for you to do to see if there's chemicals that have been sprayed that would appear in the snow. Take the snow, pack it up in your hand, right? Like you're going to make a snowball. Take it into your kitchen over the sink, and take a candle, something that you can light a fire to the snow, and see what happens. Now, normally the snow should just melt out of your hand and go into the sink as water. If it doesn't do that, if it stays compacted and it starts burning with black spots, it's not melting, but it's more turning black. That's snow filled with chemicals. And that's normally not there. I mean, in a natural habitat, snow would not have those chemicals in it. So to do your own testing to see if chemtrails are being sprayed, test your snow and see if there are chemicals in the snow. It's a really simple experiment you can do to kind of test this theory, right? And if it's, like I say, if it's not melting in the sink, then you've got someone spraying harmful chemicals into your sky, and not good for the human consumption, okay? Also, the breathing. When you breathe it in, and when it's in the atmosphere in a vapor form, it's not good. And so we wonder what's causing all this pneumonia and stuff that's going around, and why so many people are getting sick with it. Look up. All right, time to get on. Now, trying to make some adjustments. All right, there we go. There are strange weather patterns, right, that push for climate change. Well, if you're spraying chemicals into the air, affecting the climate, affecting weather patterns, affecting rain, then there's your man-made climate change. And so who's doing it? Well, it's not you and me with our internal combustion engines. That's not what is causing problems up there, okay? They keep going carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide. Anyone who paid attention in 5th grade science, anyone who paid attention in junior high science knows that carbon dioxide is not a poison. Carbon dioxide is normal to our atmosphere, normal to us, because we breathe in oxygen, trees breathe in carbon dioxide. I say breathe in, they don't have lungs like we do, but they take in through their leaves, they take in through a process, photosynthesis, carbon dioxide. And trees need carbon dioxide to live and to survive. Well, trees put out oxygen. So through the means of oxygen and carbon dioxide, trees and human beings have a symbiotic relationship, okay? We need each other to survive. Well, if carbon dioxide drops below a certain level, the trees start dying off. You have a problem. If trees start dying off, that's less oxygen for humans to breathe. Humans start dying off. And what the mainstream media, the governments, the World Health Organization, the environmental agencies, the radical environmentalists, what do they keep screaming? We have to lower carbon dioxide. Why? Well, maybe because, just possibly, just a possibility, that somebody has a depopulation agenda going on, okay? Somebody, some homicidal narcissist who has a lot of money and a lot of power wants to decrease the number of humans on the planet. A depopulation agenda. Well, that sounds kind of wacky. It does, until you read Klaus Schwab's books, until you read Yuval Noah Harari's books, until you read, on the website of the World Economic Forum, until you read agendas that the UN has on their website, and then you get a shock. And you go, oh my goodness, these people want to kill us. And they state it in their own words, in their own writings. If you look at interviews, or certain interviews of Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, and others, they sit there and tell you there are too many people on the planet. We need to reduce a bunch of them. So, how do you do that? If I were a mad, narcissistic, I want to take over the world type person. Remember Pinky and the Brain? What are we going to do today, Brain? We're going to do what we do every day, Pinky. We're going to take over the world. The Two Mice cartoon. Yeah. Some of you remember that, some of you don't. Anyway, if I were Brain, right, in the cartoon Pinky and the Brain, and I wanted to take over the world, how would I do it? If I wanted to just destroy, 80% of the population and enslave the other 20%, how would I go about doing it? Well, I'd spray the atmosphere with chemtrails. I'd poison the food with high fructose corn syrup, soy products, nitrates, and other chemical compounds that are put into the food, and I would call them preservatives, knowing they're very harmful to the body. If I were Brain and I wanted to take over the world and wipe out 80% of the population, I would manufacture a crisis, like a pandemic. And I would create mass panic via psychological warfare, gaslighting, and a lot of misinformation. And anyone who was speaking the truth, I would have the social media sites censor them and call them purveyors of misinformation and demonize them and shadow ban their content and prevent people from seeing it, and I would demonetize their channels, and I would shut them down if they began to have too much effectiveness. If I were the Brain, and wanted to take over the world and wipe out 80% of the population, I'd poison the water. I would use fluoride to poison the water. I would use chemtrails coming down. As it rains, it poisons the water because the chemicals in the rain, the chemicals in the snow. And I would increase, through those means, diseases like cancer and pneumonia. I would, because of this manufactured crisis that I would create, being a pandemic, I would create a vaccine that would be experimental. And I would declare an emergency use authorization for the vaccine, so that it doesn't have to go through the normal vetting process. And I would make sure that the vaccine has some of it being placebo and some of it being deadly. Because when you're doing an experiment, when you're doing a test trial, you have to have some placebo and some of the actual product, right? And I would do a test trial on the entire population of the world. If I were trying to wipe out 80% of the world and I was the brain and Pinky in the brain and I'm going to do this sinister thing and take over the planet, I would create secret societies and who would meet in places like Davos. And I would have places like the Bilderberg Group, and I would have the Bohemian Grove, and I would have subsidiaries of my main organizations who would carry out various aspects of my sinister plan. I would work through financial means, through the world banks, to utterly control governments and presidents and senators and Congress members and judges. And I would basically shut down anyone who would come out trying to fight my agenda. And I would suspend the Constitution. I would suspend anything in any nation that would oppose my agenda. I would mandate certain mandates. I would mandate masks. I would mandate shutdowns of businesses to affect their economy. I would make sure that there were multiple shots and booster shots of the poison that I want to give these people. And I would continually give it to them until they start dying and being wiped out from it. And I would push a major propaganda campaign using something like the Tavistock Institute to create psychological warfare techniques and propaganda for the purpose of manipulating and controlling populations psychologically. And I would convince them that anyone that doesn't go along with the mandates are evil people that need to be dealt with. And I would convince them that what they're seeing up in the sky is normal. There's nothing wrong with it. These people saying they're chemtrails are crazy. People saying the water is poison or has issues are crazy. People who fuss about high fructose corn syrup and soy and nitrates in the food, they're just nutty. They're crazy conspiracy theorists. And I would push that and push that and push that until the people have been so mentally manipulated and controlled that they can't think for themselves anymore. I would take over the higher education. I would take over the universities. And I would push the climate change agenda in the universities. I would push wokeness, critical race theory, to get people fighting with each other. I would do anything that would affect a divide and conquer type of scenario where people within nations would be attacking each other, causing crime to go up. They would be attacking each other based upon their skin color. They would be attacking each other based upon ideology, based upon political party affiliation, and I would cause them, through this psychological warfare, to hate each other and to physically go to war with each other. I would try to create civil war within the United States because it's the one country that cannot be defeated by an outside army. It's the one country that would have to be taken down from the inside. I would push for war in places like the Middle East. I would push for war in places like Ukraine, right? I would push for more and more draconian control in the European Union. And I would begin to take away freedoms slowly and incrementally, like the frog boiling in the water, so that people don't notice that they're losing their freedoms. I would push income taxes all over the world to enrich the world banks, the world banks receiving their payments on the loans that they give through income taxes. And I would continue to enrich the world banks and continue to have more and more control until people had nothing. And then through psychological warfare, I would tell them that they are happy. You will have nothing and be happy. And as I inch closer and closer to total control and total mind manipulation, I would begin to take the people who have not been killed or died from the diseases and the heart attacks and all of the things that are caused from the poisons that I am giving them, and I would gather them into 15-minute cities. I would take over all of their farmland and control the food production, put them in 15-minute cities, create a social credit score network, and I will have already created a financial score network to control them financially. A social credit score network that would control their every thought, every move, everything. And if they do what I tell them, then they get brownie points and they get little privileges and they get to do things. If they don't, then things are taken away from them. Once I reach that point, and I've got them living in little boxes, or box type apartments, and everything, they're restricted to a 15-minute zone where they keep, traveling no more than 15 minutes, and everything is right there for them. I control what they eat. I control what is shipped to their grocery store, thereby being able to control their food product, what they receive as food. And I use them as labor to continue to enrich me, enrich my world banks, and keep me powerful, and keep them, anybody who tries to oppose me is punished through the social credit score. Anyone that doesn't play my financial game is punished through the financial credit scores. We could call that FICA. And I would continually pump psychological warfare propaganda 24 hours a day through TV, social media, internet, whatever. I mean, all they would ever get would be 24 hours a day propaganda. If I wanted to take over the world, like Pinky in the Brain, that's what I would do. Maybe tomorrow we can talk about the counter to all of that. Thanks for watching. God bless. I'll see you next time on the C-Files.